You want me to put that on my tudger?
This one's wife. Snubbed again. This is what happens to the narcissist. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. The information that I'm about to share with you contains much that helps you understand the dynamic and mindset in relation to the narcissist. Many people who have been entangled with a narcissist feel a huge sense of unfairness, a sense of injustice about not only the way that they've been treated, but also in relation to the narcissist themselves. For instance, in intimate relationships, it's invariably the case that the narcissist is the one who ends the relationship. This is called disengagement. The narcissist often moves on with somebody else, leaving the person who has been dumped sprawled in the dust, confused, hurt. They gave their all to the relationship. They were supportive. They tried their very best to make it work. It started off so wonderfully, and then it went terribly wrong, and they simply do not understand why. Furthermore, when they soon learn that that individual has gone off with somebody else or is in a new relationship, it really does not feel fair to them. Why is it that they get to move on and you don't? Why are you left feeling hurt, perhaps with a raft of problems caused by the ensnarement? How is it that the narcissist can waltz off into the sunset with nary a look over their shoulder in your direction? It simply is not fair. Nevertheless, the behavior of the narcissist is such that for certain narcissists of the lesser and mid-range variety, there is some form of comeuppance. This is by virtue of collateral consequences. This article also demonstrates the arrogance of the narcissist, in that the narcissist believes that they can treat people as they see fit, invariably disengaging from some people, with others treating them to the shelf dynamic, not bothering with them for ages and then only reappearing when the narcissist wants something, and then acting surprised and hurt when they're met with a refusal by the burned victim who says, "No, I'm not playing your game any longer." Accordingly, there is much of this one's wife's narcissistic mindset and narcissistic dynamic in evidence in what I'm about to tell you. The information comes from that bastion of journalistic excellence, Heat magazine, and it's been reported in other places also, that after signing a deal earlier this year to launch a dynamic new podcast, rumours are swirling that this one's wife could be calling in favours from her former Suits co-stars to appear on the series. Naturally, this one's wife believes that she is the big draw, that she is the main ticket, that she is exciting and interesting, and therefore, if she comes a-calling for you to be involved in her podcast, you'll be delighted to be involved. After all, why wouldn't you want to be talking to the most accomplished interviewer on the planet? He continues by explaining, but according to insiders, many of them are far from impressed, as they feel that up until now, this one's wife has wanted nothing to do with them. It's all very well for this one's wife to expect support when she needs it, and obviously, she's desperate for this podcast to be a success, but a lot of people think she's got a real cheek to be asking for any sort of help from her old co-stars. After all, she refused to take part in their recent reunion and has shown no interest in staying in touch with the majority of them. She would not even join their WhatsApp group, a source tells Heat. That paragraph, if accurate, and I see no reason why it wouldn't be, encapsulates so much of the way that the narcissist behaves. First of all, she has nothing to do with those cast members. Why? Because her narcissism deems that they're surplus to requirements. They might pop up on the radar, but she doesn't decide to hoover them because she doesn't see that there's any purpose in doing so. There's no point expending energy in that direction. She can control them by staying in a position of withdrawal, The narcissism dictates she doesn't need fuel from them, character traits or residual benefits. Remember, she has no sense of obligation to maintain a friendship because she was friends with these people and worked with them. That's irrelevant to the narcissist. There isn't any kind of loyalty, dedication, or obligation experienced by the narcissist. Instead, the decision to maintain contact with someone is driven purely, and I cannot emphasize this enough, purely by the pursuit of the prime aims. And if the narcissism gauges that the narcissist doesn't need to get in contact with someone because they don't provide any worth vis-a-vis fuel, character traits, and residual benefits, then the narcissist simply stays in a position of withdrawal, dismisses that individual to get that subconscious sense of control, because remember, control must always be obtained. But then there's no approach to that individual. The friendship isn't maintained. Basically, that appliance isn't providing anything that the narcissist needs, therefore they're not bothered with. Secondly, it demonstrates the reaction of those to think she's got a real cheek to then come knocking for assistance at a later juncture. Absolutely she has. Because that behaviour gauged from the victim perspective or a third-party perspective certainly is one where she's got a cheek to come and ask for help when she's not bothered with these people. Most people would agree that that is rather outrageous to behave that way. Is she ashamed or embarrassed at that? No, because she doesn't see that there's anything wrong with her behaviour. If you're not able to see that there's a problem, why would you feel ashamed of it? If you can't see that there's a difficulty caused by you, why would you be embarrassed by your behaviour? You would not. And therefore, that's why she comes back as a consequence of this absence of remorse, guilt, or conscience, and the compartmentalisation, alongside the driving force of the prime aims, to come and ask for someone for help when she's not bothered with them for some time. Thirdly, it encapsulates her arrogance and that narcissistic sense of entitlement. She doesn't think to herself, I know I've not bothered with them for months, maybe even years, but they won't mind. I'll talk to them. That doesn't even enter her head. She needs somebody for her podcast. She basically thinks, I'll contact my old cast members. They'll be thrilled to do it. There's nothing saying to her, aren't you out of order though? After all, you've not bothered with them for months. It's a bit of a cheek to go and ask them. That doesn't even enter her head because her narcissism doesn't allow her to think that way. Somebody else might point that out to her. Hey, megalomania, do you not think, though, that'll be a bad move and they might be reluctant to be involved? After all, you've not bothered with them for some time. When confronted with that question, which is a threat to control, her narcissism will dismiss it. Oh, it'll be fine. They'll love to be involved. They'll understand. I'm very busy. I'm the Duchess of Sussex. I've rage scrolling to do. They appreciate that I've much going on in my life. Or she might even lie. Oh, I have kept in touch with them, you know. I just don't talk about it. Revision of history. The article continues by explaining that this one's wife doesn't ever put Suits down, in the sense of criticise it, but she certainly distanced herself from most of the cast, reason being, it serves no purpose, and from the show. It's pretty insulting, and the feeling is that she ought to be a lot more loyal to her roots. This, of course, is somebody commenting who doesn't understand narcissism. Narcissists don't exhibit loyalty. The show is what made her famous. It's safe to say she'd never have met Harry without the success she had from Suits. So it just strikes a lot of people as a bit ungrateful that she seems to want to get as far away from it as possible the moment she married him. Well, of course, because behaving like the type of narcissist that she is, her narcissism said, you don't need that lot any longer. You've hit the jackpot with old Fanta pubes here. So for her to now come with cap in hand, asking for them to appear on her podcast and help promote her products is pretty tone deaf. Well, of course, we all know that the Duchess of Delusion is tone deaf. It's driven by her narcissism. She's going to need to explain herself. Well, she won't think that she needs to. Remember, she operates with that sense of entitlement and lack of accountability. And do some serious damage control if she's going to have any chance of wooing them back to her side, because there are a lot of hurt feelings. This one's wife, 42, who appeared on the first 7 series of Suits until 2017, revealed her return to the podcasting world after signing a deal with Lemonada Media. Now it's thought that This One's Wife is hoping to come back with a bang, lining up a host of stellar guests for the new podcast. Celebrity PR specialist Kaylee Cornelius revealed, "Initially, we might expect her to call in favours from her remaining friends, has she got any, and work through their networks, residual benefit. For instance, long-term friend Priyanka Chopra, who did not feature on Archetypes, could be among the first names that This One's Wife considers. That'll be dull. Other potential guests could include friends from her Suits days, such as Abigail Spencer and Wendell Pierce, who likely remain accessible points of contact for This One's Wife." This One's Wife's former friend Lizzie Cundy has also claimed that she's relying on her old cast members. She said, "I hear she's ghosted a lot of them," shelving dynamic of the narcissist, "as she doesn't want to know them. When she met Harry, she ghosted a lot of them, and now she's got to go back with her cap in hand saying, 'Will you come on this podcast?' Are they going to want to do it?" Well, many may well refuse. Some may feel sorry for her. The fact is that it is typical of a narcissist to ghost people in this way because it's the shelving dynamic. She only bothers with people because they serve a purpose to her. That's how she deals with people. She doesn't care about anybody. She doesn't love anybody. She doesn't actually like anybody. She's not kind towards anybody in a genuine way. It's all done to serve her purposes. And therefore, it's not a surprise, of course, to find the narcissist who is now struggling as a consequence of the popularity tanking, that she is having to scrape around to try and find people to come on her show. This is what invariably happens to the narcissist, that they believe that they can just walk away from people because of that sense of entitlement, because there's no emotional investment in those individuals, and the narcissist then thinks, oh, they will interact with me again. Sometimes some people do. They feel guilty, or they feel that they ought to do so, that they're a bit of a pushover in that respect. But many people, having been ignored for such a period of time, will turn around and say, oh, the narcissist foxtrot Oscar. And the narcissist will act all but hurt or furious. How dare you treat me this way? They simply can't comprehend that they deserve such treatment. And this is what regularly happens to the narcissist, that as a consequence of their behaviours, they then reap what they sow sometime later on. And it's the case with This One's Wife. Her poor treatment of the Suits cast members will result in many, if not all, refusing to be involved in her shitty podcast, and quite rightly so. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.